So, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing an MS Paint guide of Golden Wall. This is an active process of theory crafting a map that is tremendously bad for Zerg, but we haven't vetoed it yet, so we're going to try to think about the map and think about how to play Zerg in a way that adapts to the map, because that's what Abathur said that the Swarm should do. We should not just give up, we should adapt, learn, grow, and so on. So here in this advanced computer program known as Microsoft Paint, I have pulled up Golden Wall Ladder Edition. This is a pretty big map. The defining feature is this golden wall that is in the center going along here. There are some high ground spots where you could put an overlord. I can just mark those to start off, because overlord scouting is good. We'll do a purple, just a little purple dot, I think. I don't know how easy this is going to be to see. So this is an overlord pedestal here, and this is the equivalent over here. So for this, you could see what the opponent's wall off looks like, which is pretty nice. And then another nice overlord spot is actually right outside the minerals. You want to be able to see any funny business if the opponent is mining through. That's important to know. So I think having an overlord here is good. This is actually a high ground spot too, but I think this is out of range of these minerals. So you could see this base location and if the town hall was dropped, but you would not be able to see if this is mining. Another interesting feature of this map is this set of minerals here in the center. These minerals are not very plentiful. It's not very much stuff. So I think it's maybe 1 or 2 trips for each drone. So in the late game, to make this feel more like a normal map, you could just take the drones from a base, like either they're mining from the gold base or they're mining from this base and it's mining out, and you could just send them to mine this. And that allows your army to move freely from the top side of the map to the bottom side of the map. So that's the really tricky thing about this map, is it's kind of like 2 maps until you mine through and open it up. So you can either expand up this way, 1, 2, 3, say this could be one example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could do that. These are probably the bases that are the easiest to defend against attacks and stuff. That's one expansion pattern that you could do. Another example, and this is the one that I want to try on this map, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be a lot more compact. And the way that this could work is you wall this off with Evo Roach Warren. If you wall this off, then adepts can't shade in. They would have to use a prism to get in, and you could use queens to deny that, maybe. They could warp in adepts over here and then send them in this way if you mine through. So it's not like you don't have to worry about adepts on a plane, but that is something that could be tested. If you take this as a 4th base from this side, you can't get the gas. There is one Vespene geyser right here. It's not a rich one, it's just a Vespene geyser. So if you took it on this side, you could get the gas, 1 gas. But I was thinking about doing this expansion pattern and doing 1, 2 for either 2 base Muta or 2 base Swarm Host. And then doing 3, 4 of a big Roach Ravager max out. And then having a very strong ground army presence. And you could even mine through this to allow yourself to like punch up and hit these bases pretty quick. So this wall off will be pretty nice later on for things like Zealot run by, If there were zealots that ran by and they're attacking the wall, that gives you a lot of time to defend. So that could be an option there. The dead space here is pretty substantial. There are some things to look out for, like Nidus. I have Nidus opponents right here. That's pretty often a blind spot. That would be this. If you look at the player's vision, this is typically what people look at when they jump to their base. They're looking at a rectangle, because that's the shape of their monitor, that's kind of like this. If they use either the base cameras or the camera location hotkeys for their town halls. So sometimes that means there are corners of the main base that aren't visible to them unless they're kind of pulling their camera down and around and looking at stuff. So this is a Nidus spot to look out for. You could also Nidus here. I was doing that with Swarm Host a good bit, and you can throw Locust either at this base or at that base. And the equivalent would be this spot here. You could Locust this way or this way. And then on the top side, you've got some options. You could Nidus here and hit this base or this base. You could Nidus back here and hit this base. So yes, this is a good Nidus map if you can get that set up and also defend stuff. This is one potential game plan that I think I would like to try. So again, that would be 2 base, either Muta or Swarm Host Nidus as the opening. Cutting Ling speed, because if we're walling off, we don't really have a great way to run units at our opponent. Even if we mine through here, we don't have an attack path into the opponent unless this is opened up as well. So this is a defensive opening on the 2 base setup with a slightly later third because you have to mine through, but not super late, into a 4 base with gold income power spike of a Roach Ravager max out. And then eventually Broodlords could be pretty good. Because if you have these 5 bases, which are all pretty close to each other, you could use Broodlords to control the center here. If the opponent pushes down, you could collapse down. And if they push up, you could go up to block. Broodlords are a pretty tricky unit because they're so slow, where if you overcommit them to one extreme of the map, like say all the way down here, then the opponent could run their army up around this way and get into a sort of base trade scenario. So what you want to do is use the Broodlords to control the center and then eventually get up onto kind of a central point where you can kill all their bases. Sweet. Muta Harass could be pretty good. These bases are fairly close to each other, so I wouldn't expect to deal very lethal damage. The 2 base Muta would mainly be to deny Harass. You can deny Banshee Harass, Liberator Harass, drops, things like that. It makes things more stable and direct, where the opponent is going to be trying to hit you with Marine-based timings or big mech timings instead of a bunch of multi-prong stuff like Liberators being sent to all your bases and Hellion drops. So what's left now is to test this. This is kind of a rough look at the map to see what can be done about it. Generally speaking, obstacles are bad for Zerg. That's why this map is exceptionally bad for Zerg. This wall is a really tricky thing. It's hard to creep over stuff like this because you would need Overlord vision on the other side. You can use creep tumors to jump over that, but that's a lot more attention and effort than just spreading creep out in open spaces. There are also vision blockers here. There isn't a ton of dead space, but this vertical of the map is pretty large, so having units being sent up here on the top side is pretty common. I did have some lings catch me off guard yesterday, just some speedlings being sent around the top side. So that's something to be aware of too, but that would be shut down by having this walled off. And then we're having a compact expansion here. With this expansion pattern, going for heavy queen count would be very good because queens cost no gas, so I could free up gas for mutas or Swarmhost Nidus, and then the queens scale well into a Broodlord push too. Use a spine to help wall off. It would accomplish the same goal, but you can unpurrow it and keep that attack path. That is not viable in ZVZ at all because it's super easy to kill someone in Lingbane. So Banelings deal bonus damage to buildings. Spines can be killed by about 4 Banes. So you cannot do that in ZVZ. That's off the table. You could leave 1 gap and put 2 queens in the hole or put 1 queen in the hole. Queens are psionic, so Banelings do not get bonus damage against them. But I killed a Zerg just doing a Lingbane bust when they tried to wall off with the spine. In lower leagues, you might be able to get away with that, but that's one of those situations where someone can just reactively all in you. In ZVT, maybe. I feel like that wouldn't really help a ton. You can just kill an Evo chamber later on too, once your army is really strong and you feel confident to expand up as well. ZVP having a spine. It costs more than an Evo chamber, but it doesn't really add too much. You could do that. That would mean you don't have to kill an Evo chamber later. And you can just move the spine somewhere else. I won't stop you from doing that, but I don't think I would do that. Spores would be pretty good. We can actually look at spore placement too. Thinking about maybe your initial spores here and here. This would be at around 4 minutes to 4:30, just in the middle of your mineral line. And then 1 here. And if we find out that it's not Banshee and it's something like drops, it could be moved to here maybe, and here. You kind of want them more around the edges of your territory so that if the Medivacs fly over, they take a bunch of fire. And if they go into your base, they're taking a lot of damage from your spores. You could even do some annoying stuff like have a spore wall. Say we're against Skytoss. We could make a spore forest that's just a whole bunch of them, like rows of spores that are moving toward the opponent. I saw Elazer doing this against Skytoss. It's pretty cool. Basically, as soon as you recognize that it's Skytoss, you can overdrone a base. Say this base is fully saturated with 16 or 20 workers or something. If you have a bank that's in the thousands, you could just pull that entire drone line and just make a crap ton of spores and then redrone the base. So you're converting the minerals of the map into spore crawlers, and then you would want to be probably going for a bunch of broodlords so you can gradually siege the opponent. Because if you get broodlords here and there's a spore wall that you've gradually moved up to this location, that's going to be really annoying for the opponent to stop. At that point, you would probably be looking to defend, harass from like a prism or something around your bases. So having 3 muta might be smart. 3 mutas, and they would want to be probably centrally located here, so they could defend prism back here, prism over here, zealot run by over here. A sporist. Yeah, so this might be a rough look at Golden Wall to give you some ideas for how to play the map. I have a very low win rate on the map, but pulling it out like this and taking a look at the options that are available and just taking a rough guess at a game plan, I think can be good. So I listed out some facts here before we started this. Attacking into 2 base toss or Terran is bad with a direct ground army. You have to attack up this ramp or up this mineral ramp, so it's just straight up bad. This is not a Zerg favored map. Just accepting that, I think, helps deal with the frustration of losing a whole bunch. You know you're fighting uphill, so you're not going to expect the same results. Like, say you're facing an opponent of equal MMR and it's a ZVP or a ZVT. They are playing with an advantage, so just try your best. A lot of Zergs will veto this map, so if you can get exceptionally good at it, you could catch opponents off guard and be really tough for them to deal with. A lot of bases you can expand a lot in the late game. Burrow at base locations could be good. Burrowing lings up here at these base locations later on would tell you exactly how much economy the opponent is working with, and it also forces the opponent to bring detection with their expansions, which is really annoying. A lot of times they'll fly out a command center or they'll send a probe to build a nexus or something like that with no escort and no detection. So burrowing one ling at each expansion location is really, really good for the value. It's only one Zergling and 100 minerals, 100 gas for the burrow. And we all float more money than that during the game, let's be honest. So we can afford that. That's another good option here. And then burrow, yep. Creeping both sides gives lots of nice vision. So the way that that works is you can put a creep tumor here, which spreads down, and that can go either this way or this way. And then you can also drop a creep tumor here at the start, and then that can go over to here, and then you're creeping in this direction toward the opponent. Creep up this way too. Because ideally you creep both sides even if you're only expanding to one side, because this gives you lots of vision. This is all like ground territory. There are just a bunch of obstacles there, so creep spread can give you most of the information on the map. The only spots where creep can't help you would be up here and over here. So putting your overlords in these locations might be good. Could also, one cool tactic that you can do sometimes is just have your overlords drawing a line on the map. If you have overlord speed, this is pretty awesome for being able to see all the attacks that are coming your way. Like that. That could be cool. If you're unsure of how to spread your overlords, this is a good habit to get into. Overlords here. And then a reminder that doing the Overseer Scout is a super strong move. So you take one happy buddy of an Overseer here, and then you could just send it this way and through all the bases like this. And you would get most of the information in the game. It's probably going to die at some point, but you're going to see a lot. Like when it passes here, you're going to see mech versus bio. You would see Stargates, you would see Forge, all kinds of good information with an Overseer Scout. Sweet. So this is Golden Wall. I think we'll put this rough draft to the test. Maybe these ideas helped you a little bit with playing the map yourself. Maybe you've seen all this and you just want to veto it. That's valid as well. One of the best things about StarCraft is you are your own boss, and you can decide how you play each map. Or if you don't want to play the map, you get 3 vetoes per season. So if you just wanted like a rough look at the maps that I would veto if I was in a best of 3, I would probably veto, go to the maps. Purity, Golden Wall, and the rest of them are pretty much fine. I would say none of the others are exceptionally bad for Zerg. Simulacrum is especially good for Zerg. Zen is also, I think, rather good for Zerg. At least it's good for me. My win rates. Nightshade and Everdream are both pretty close spawn, so you may get 12 pulled and stuff like that. Cool. And anyone who watches the guides on YouTube, thank you for supporting the content, and I'm glad people like the Microsoft Paint shit. So it is written, so it is set into stone.